Why letting go changes everything. Buddhist wisdom. The paradox of holding on. There's something curious about our hands. When we want to catch sunlight, we open our palms wide. But when we find something precious, like joy, love, or a peaceful moment, what do? We close our fists. We try to hold on. And somehow, that's when it slips away. Like grains of sand. The tighter we grip, the quicker it falls through. Have you seen this happen in your own life? The Buddha once said, "All conditioned phenomena are impermanent." When one sees this with wisdom, one becomes free from suffering. But here's the real question. Why don't we see this truth clearly? Is it because we lack wisdom? Not exactly. It's because we're holding on too tightly. We cling to things, people, experiences, even ideas, believing they are essential for our safety, happiness, or sense of self. And in doing so, we unknowingly build our own prison, bar by bar, thought by thought. Let's be honest. Our minds weren't made for awakening. They were made for survival. From the beginning of human history, we learned one basic rule. Hold on to what helps you survive. Food, shelter, people who protect you. This instinct kept our ancestors alive. But what happens when that instinct grows out of proportion? When we don't just hold on to what we need, but to everything we think we are. Fear fuels this clinging. We resist change and grip what feels familiar. But resistance and attachment are just two sides of the same fear. In Buddhism, this is called upadana, grasping, clinging, attachment. But it's not just about physical possessions. It's a mindset. The Buddha described 4 forms of clinging that keep us stuck. We cling to sense pleasures, thinking, if I just have this, I'll be happy. We cling to our beliefs and opinions, convinced I'm right and others are wrong. We cling to rules and rituals, hoping, if I follow this exactly, I'll be safe. And most deeply, we cling to the illusion of a solid, unchanging self. This is who I am, and who I'll always be. Do you see it? We don't just cling to things outside of us. We cling to how we think, how we see ourselves, and how we believe life should be. With every layer of clinging, we build another wall between us and the truth of how things really are. And this brings us to the core. The philosopher Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." It sounds brilliant, but the Buddha might have gently asked, who is the one that thinks? Can you find them? Can you point to them? This is the teaching of anatta, non-self. It doesn't mean we don't exist. Clearly, we are here, breathing, thinking, living. But there is no permanent, unchanging I at the center of it all. In one of his key teachings, the Buddha asked, is your body the self? Are your feelings the self? Your thoughts? After deep reflection, the answer is no. Why? Because if any of these were truly you, under your full control, then you could command them. You could say to your body, never age, never feel pain, but you can't. The body ages, pain arises, thoughts shift, moods change. Modern science is now catching up. Philosopher Thomas Metzinger showed that what we call the self is actually just a model, a story the brain tells itself, a pattern, a process. So if this I is just a shifting narrative, not a solid thing. What exactly are we holding on to? That question alone can shake everything we believe. Imagine you're standing in a river. The current is strong. If you try to stay still and resist the flow, what happens? You tire. And eventually, the river pulls you anyway. But if you move with the current, you become part of it. You can go anywhere. This is what the Buddha meant by dukkha, suffering. It's not just physical pain. It's the inner tension that comes from resisting reality, from wanting life to be something other than what it is right now. The psychologist Carl Rogers once said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." That's not resignation. It's clarity. It's a kind of deep wisdom, seeing things as they are, without resistance, without illusion. There's a Zen story that captures this perfectly. Two monks were walking together and came to a stream. A young woman stood there, unsure how to cross. The younger monk didn't hesitate. He picked her up, carried her across, and set her down. Hours later, the older monk finally said, "Brother, we're not supposed to touch women. Why did you carry her?" The younger monk replied, "I put her down at the stream." "Are you still carrying her?" How much are we still carrying? Old wounds, harsh words, mistakes we regret. And while our hands are full of the past, how can they receive anything new? This is the paradox. We think holding on will protect us, but it's the holding on that traps us. The prison isn't outside of us. It's made from our own fears, our thoughts, our desperate wish to control what cannot be controlled. The essence of letting go. When people hear the phrase letting go, they often misunderstand it. They think it means giving up, becoming passive, or no longer caring. They imagine someone who simply accepts everything without effort, without feeling, like they've shut down emotionally, a kind of spiritual numbness. But that's not letting go. That's another kind of resistance, a refusal to fully engage with life. True letting go isn't about indifference. It's about loving without clinging, caring without controlling, acting without being attached to the result. It's not apathy. It's freedom. In the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha taught, one should develop a mind that does not abide anywhere, not in sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, or mental objects. This doesn't mean we reject the world or avoid experience. It means we don't get stuck. We don't hold on. Imagine the wind passing through a field of flowers. It touches every bloom, carries their fragrance, stirs them gently. But it doesn't get caught in any one place. It remains free. That's letting go. This isn't cold detachment. It's warm, open non-attachment. There's a big difference. Detachment says, I don't care. But non-attachment says, I care deeply, but I won't be chained by that care. Detachment closes the heart. Non-attachment opens it all the way. Another common myth is that holding on makes us strong, and letting go means we're weak. But look at nature. The oak tree looks powerful, stiff, solid, unmoving. But when a storm comes, it can snap. The bamboo, on the other hand, bends. It moves with the wind, and after the storm, it still stands. Which one is truly resilient? Letting go isn't weakness. It takes real strength to loosen our grip, especially when we face the unknown. It takes more courage to trust than to control. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act just once, with beauty and courage. What if the things we fear, loss, change, emptiness, aren't enemies to fight, but teachers to meet? What if they're here to help us grow? When we let go of fear, we come back to ourselves. When we stop trying to control everything, we become flexible, present, and truly alive. The layers of letting go. Letting go isn't something that happens all at once. It's a gradual process, a journey through layers, like peeling an onion. Each layer brings us closer to the core, to a deeper freedom. The first layer is letting go of material things and sensual desires. We live in a world built to keep us wanting. Advertisements, social media, and even cultural norms constantly push us to crave more. But the Dhammapada offers a different message. Health is the greatest gain. Contentment is the greatest wealth. Not wealth in the form of money or possessions, but inner contentment, santuti. This doesn't mean we must reject comfort or live in poverty. It means learning to feel whole within ourselves, knowing what's enough. Think of the last time you bought something thinking, "This will make me happy." Maybe it did, for a moment. But soon, the excitement faded, and you were searching for the next thing. Letting go at this level means enjoying what comes, but without clinging. Letting life flow through your hands instead of trying to grasp it. The second layer goes deeper. Our emotions. This one is harder. Emotions feel personal. When you're angry, you don't just feel anger. You say, "I am angry." That identification is what traps us. In Vipassana meditation, we learn to see emotions not as who we are, but as passing events. We observe, anger is arising, or sadness is present, rather than, I am this emotion. Can you sense the difference? That shift creates a little space, a moment of awareness, and in that space, we find freedom. The Buddha taught in the Satipatthana Sutta, when feeling a painful feeling, one understands, I feel a painful feeling. Not resisting, not merging with it, just clear seeing, just being with what is, as it is. The third layer is subtler still, our thoughts and views. This is where few people ever look. We might let go of things. We might even learn to observe emotions. But how do we let go of the very way we think? The beliefs we hold on to, the assumptions that shape our identity. Philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein once said, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world." Every belief becomes a box we place around reality. And then, without noticing, we live inside those boxes, mistaking them for the world itself. Zen Buddhism offers a key insight here through the idea of Shoshin, beginner's mind. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few." Letting go of rigid beliefs doesn't mean abandoning discernment. It means staying open. Even the Buddha said that his teachings were like a raft, useful for crossing the river, but not something to carry on your back once you've reached the other side. We're not meant to worship the raft. We're meant to let it go. And then we come to the deepest layer of all, the self. The Heart Sutra says, "Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form." This is sunyata, emptiness. Not nothingness, but the absence of a fixed, separate, permanent self. Everything, Including this I is a process, a dance of causes and conditions coming together for a time. Look closely. What do you actually find when you search for the self? Sensations, thoughts, emotions, all arising, changing, fading. But is there a solid you behind them, independent and unchanging? The more closely you look, the less there is to hold on to. And then a powerful question appears. If there is no fixed self, then who is doing the clinging? And what is being clung to? When this is seen, not just understood intellectually, but known through direct experience, grasping falls away on its own. Like a hand that suddenly realizes it's been holding nothing but air. The path of practice. Understanding is beautiful, but by itself, it's not enough. The Buddha wasn't a philosopher offering abstract theories. He was a healer pointing to a cure, a medicine for the suffering woven into human life, and medicine only works when you take it. The Buddhist path rests on three interwoven foundations. The first is sila, ethical conduct. This isn't about obeying rules out of fear or guilt. It's about living in a way that brings harmony, both inwardly and outwardly. When you stop causing harm to yourself and others, your mind begins to settle. There's less conflict, less inner noise. Think about it. When you lie, part of your mind must keep the lie alive. Remember it, defend it, fear its exposure. But when you live honestly, with care and integrity, there's a lightness, a quiet in the heart, a space where the mind can finally rest. The second foundation is samadhi, concentration. Through meditation, the mind learns to become steady. This isn't about forcing the mind to go blank. It's about training your attention, not letting it be dragged away by every passing thought. Over time, the mind grows stable, clear, and still. And from that stillness, you begin to see things as they are. The third is panya, wisdom. Not intellectual understanding, but direct insight. A deep seeing into the nature of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. Through steady attention, you begin to observe your own experience arising and fading, moment by moment. And through this direct seeing, wisdom naturally unfolds. It's not something you create, it's something you uncover. These three, ethics, concentration, and wisdom, support each other like the legs of a tripod. Without ethical living, the mind stays agitated. Without concentration, clarity won't arise. Without wisdom, you won't understand the real reason behind the path. They are not separate steps, but one integrated path. You don't need to live in a cave. You don't need to sit for hours. Practice is available in every action. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "Washing the dishes is not for having clean dishes. Washing the dishes is for washing the dishes." What he meant was simple. Be fully present. Not rushing to get it over with, but being there, feeling the warm water, the texture of the soap, the movement of your hands. That's meditation. Walking and knowing you're walking. Eating and knowing you're eating. In that knowing, a small gap opens up, a quiet space where you're not caught in habit. Letting go isn't a single leap. It's a gentle unfolding, a gradual ripening of the heart and mind. Each time you notice that you're clinging, that's already a moment of awakening. Each time you soften, even a little, that's progress. You don't need to force anything. Be patient. Be kind to yourself. Every step matters. Right now, as you read or hear these words, you can practice. Just pause. Notice what's happening in your body. What thoughts are present in your mind? What emotions are moving through? Simply observe. No judgment. Just see. And in that simple seeing, something begins to soften. Freedom and enlightenment. When we hear the word freedom, we usually think of it as the freedom to choose, to act, to pursue, to control. More options, more power, more doing. But in Buddhism, the word for freedom is vimutti, and it points to something different. This is freedom from grasping, from fear, from the constant hunger of craving. It's not about getting more. It's about being less bound. Psychologist Erich Fromm once observed that many people actually fear freedom. Why? Because real freedom means full responsibility. It means facing yourself directly, with no distractions, no escape routes. And here's the paradox. The moment you truly let go, when you stop running, stop clinging, stop resisting, you discover something unexpected. You were never truly imprisoned. The chains were made of thought. The walls were built from belief. The prison was always open. Many spiritual seekers think of enlightenment as something far away, a mystical event, a flash of light, a final reward after years of practice. But that very idea of seeking can become the obstacle. There's an old Zen saying, "Before studying Zen, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. While studying Zen, mountains are no longer mountains and rivers are no longer rivers. After enlightenment, mountains are again mountains and rivers are again rivers." What changed? Not the mountains, not the rivers, but the mind that sees. Enlightenment isn't about becoming something different. It's about shedding what hides your true nature. The Buddha described it as the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. When those fires go out, what remains isn't emptiness in the cold sense. It's a deep, steady peace. And what's remarkable is that this isn't only reserved for saints or sages. You can taste it now. In any moment when grasping stops, when the mind becomes still, when the heart opens, there it is. A glimpse of freedom. When you no longer cling, you're able to receive everything. When your hands are empty, you can hold the whole world without needing to possess a single thing. And in that openness, karuna, compassion, arises naturally, not as a duty, not as a practice, but as a spontaneous expression of a heart no longer closed off by separation. When the tight sense of me softens, something profound becomes clear. Their suffering is not only theirs, and your joy is not only yours. It's all part of the same stream. One life, one field of experience. And in that understanding, love is no longer something you do. It becomes who you are.